Welcome to the new year. Has yours started well? Consider this article in the news. I'm Addi Banks, and this is my report. Unhappy New Year. Polls find Americans weary of the nation's course, its leaders, and its future ahead of 2023. USA Today, Susan Page, December 18th, 2022. It reads, Americans are braced for an unhappy new year. Two-thirds of respondents in a new USA Today Suffolk University poll say the country has gotten off on the wrong track, and they express little confidence in either political party or any branch of the government to effectively address the changes they see ahead. Their priority for President Joe Biden and the new Congress of 2023 is clear. Inflation and the economy chose as number one or number two issue by 54% of those surveyed. They double the number for any other issue. Quote, I'm hopeful, but I'm also doubtful, said Janet B., a Republican who works as a mortgage broker. Peter G., a Democrat who owns a small marine business, described himself as weary. Quote, we're in for some tumultuous times, Peter G., 62, predicted in a follow-up interview after participating in the poll. Quote, things are not good in this country right now in a lot of ways, end quote. The survey of 1,000 registered voters taken by landline and cell phone December 7th through 11th has a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1 percentage points. There were few signs of a burst of optimism as the new year neared. By 65% versus 26%, Americans say the country has gotten off on the wrong track, not headed in the right direction. At the end of 2021, those surveyed said by 57% versus 30%, the country was on the wrong track. Not exactly a measure of national exuberance, but a less dire assessment of the future as a new year approached. That said, today's downbeat reading is an improvement from July, when by 76% versus 15%, Americans said the nation wasn't headed in the right direction. The mood, hope, fear, and exhaustion. Ask what one word described their mood about the new year. 39% chose hopeful, and 5% chose enthusiastic, percentages that had dropped a bit from 2021. 24% chose worried, and 11% fearful, both higher than 2021. Precisely the same, 18% said their mood was exhausted. Inflation has taken a toll, even as gas prices has been declining. Quote, my power bill is about $600 a month. That used to be half that, Janet B., 66, said. She goes on to say, meat's way up, chicken's up, everything's up, up, up. If you're on a fixed income, I just don't know what some people do. From a list of 11 issues, 35% chose inflation, the economy, as their top priority for the president and Congress in 2023. Threats to democracy ranked second. at 12%, and immigration third at 10%. No other concern broke into double digits. Fewer than 1% cited the pandemic. 5%, including 8% of Republicans, put investigating the Biden administration as their highest issue. Quote, we're being ruled by extremism on both sides. Expectations are low about Washington's divided government getting much done. Quote, I think bipartisanship is useful, and there's not enough of that, said Barbara D., 62, a political independent who works as a bookkeeper. Or take a plank from the left, take a plank from the right, and come together and parcel a way to get things done, said Tom D., 71, a retired insurance executive and a Democrat. He says, but we're being ruled by extremism on both sides, and the moderate middle is being squeezed out. Both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are now seen as too extreme by a majority of Americans. 61% say the GOP is too extreme, including 28% of those who identify themselves as Republicans. 52% say Democrats are too extreme, including 17% of self-identified Democrats. Americans also have a net unfavorable view of all three branches of the government. The Supreme Court at 44% unfavorable, 42% favorable. Congress by 54% versus 28%, and the president by 50% versus 46%. Those findings and the public's mood are a challenge, not only for Biden, but also for just about every office holder in Washington. Quote, when the three branches of government are viewed negatively, it signals that voters are looking for something new and better, but be it structurally or politically, said David Paleologos, director of the Suffolk University Political Research Center. The voting public is ripe for a booster shot of positivity because the immune system of the body politic has weakened significantly, end quote. Rachel N., 53, a nurse practitioner and a Democrat, thinks there could be a turnaround in 2023. I'm hopeful that the last couple of years and giant amount of negative things that have happened has been a wake-up call, and that it is possible to learn from those things and move forward, she says, mentioning issues including racism, gun violence, and reproductive rights. Quote, perhaps the rose-colored glasses have been pulled off. I'm feeling better than in the last 2 years, but that's a low bar. A low bar. Stop a minute and take your own pulse. How do you feel about the status of America? Are you hopeful? There's a danger in measuring life in America by the news and the popular media. Yes, it is clichéic to say things like bad news sells. Yes, many of us have turned the news off. We can all immediately tick off in rapid fire 10 things that concern us about the state of America, especially about our youth. But take a breath. Now, I'm the last person to minimize the issues of hate crimes, the economy, race relations, immigration, trusting politicians at all levels. But I don't have to look far to witness volunteers doing good every day. and not just on a National Volunteer Day. I see representatives of the people working overtime on local crises and landmines. They could be at home relaxing. I listen to workers at do good organizations vowing and working to create better lives, more equality, more social justice for those who are voiceless. We all know parents celebrating academic and other achievements that don't make the news. I check my own family barometer, the health of my family, and am grateful for the reality check. Keeping hope alive is easier when we test the nearby waters for the positive, progressive, hopeful signs around us. When we take the power to define for ourselves what is real. This year, I will again point out the woes in the news. I will challenge us to examine for ourselves what is correct and doable. I will ask you to take responsibility for how you treat others and encourage love, respect, and do no harm as a means toward reconciliation. I'm Addi Banks. Happy New Year.